Hi, so Claire and Paul here from 1020, and we're going to be discussing all things hypnotherapy. I know. So Paul is a hypnotherapist full-time, and I am a hypnotherapist for friends and family only. So I'm going to be asking Paul lots of questions, but chipping in as appropriate.
Chip away.
Thank you, darling. So first things first, what is hypnotherapy?
Gosh, what is hypnotherapy? It's probably the oldest thing that man has been doing since man walked on the planet. It's really difficult to explain. It comes from the word hypnos, which means to sleep in Greek. We spend 85% of our day in a state of hypnosis. It's called daydreaming. So if you daydream a lot, then you are in pretty much a state of hypnosis. In that state of hypnosis, the subconscious mind is right up here. And it's the subconscious mind that looks after us. It monitors the fact that you and I are breathing, the fact that we blink, like you have done just then. It monitors our sex drives, it monitors our drives, it monitors our emotions. In fact, it looks after us. And it puts in programs to look after us. Why would you need hypnotherapy? Because sometimes those programs are outdated and outmoded. And the subconscious mind, which we as therapists believe is the equivalent to a 9-year-old child, needs
A bright 9-year-old.
A bright 9-year-old child needs a little bit of a moving forward, tap on the bottom perhaps every now and again, or an encouraging, come here to me, see the way it should be looking for you. So that's what we do. So hypnotherapy is a way of approaching the subconscious mind to change programs to alter the way somebody thinks and feels about themselves.
Okay, so what's the most common thing? I mean, I know what my guys are all dealing with, but what's the most common thing you deal with? Because you do a lot more than I do.
Okay, so a lot of it is about confidence and self-esteem. You do the standard things like weight loss and cessation of smoking and all these sort of things. Fears and phobias, confidence, self-esteem. But I find that most of the things that I deal with have some element of trauma that has happened in someone's life that causes these things to happen. Okay. So the self-confidence, it could be, I don't know, that you had a particularly overbearing mother who was always criticising you. They think they're doing a good job. They're just trying to say to you, be better, be better, be better, be better. But the way it comes across to a child's brain is, mummy doesn't love me. Mummy doesn't think I'm doing this. Mummy,
I'm not good enough.
And that sets you up for what ostensibly could be, for the majority of people, a life of questioning who you actually are.
Yeah, really challenging. So what brought me into hypnotherapy, and that was because I experienced hypnotherapy because I had a serious phobia of spiders. So obviously, we're talking about the difference between fear and phobia, right? So obviously a fear is like, oh, I'm a bit worried about that. A phobia is, I can't leave the house, right? Okay, so for me, I was always a little bit frightened of spiders, but then it got to the point where even money spiders, if there was a money spider in the house, I wouldn't be able to go in the house. I have to stay in my car. And it got a little bit like, this is now becoming stupid. I can see how ridiculous this is. I can see that I don't need this in my life. It's not helping me. And in September, I used to spend more of my life out in the car hiding than in the house, because that's when the big buggers would come out, in my view, right? So I had one session of hypnotherapy to see what happened. And within a month of having that session, I held a tarantula.
Absolutely.
By choice.
And it's really scary to find out that actually money spiders live in cars. I mean,
thanks for that. I'm glad you weren't around. I'm glad you weren't around then. Oh my Lord. So yeah, for me, I was like, wow, this is amazing. It didn't make me want to do it then, but then when I reached out to a therapist we both know and said, I have a problem with sand. I have a sand phobia, and I'm about to go to Barbados and swim with turtles, and I want to enjoy every bit of that experience. It sounds really daft, doesn't it? Again, one session later, I am swimming in the sea and happy on the beach, and everything's good. So it became my choice of therapy, and I thought, how fantastic would it be to learn this, to be able to do this for other people? So that's kind of where I came from. What was your journey? Was it similar, Paul?
Well, no, it wasn't similar. In ways. So there are two parts of this. One part is to answer your question, but the second part is to deal with one thing that you said. Okay. So the first part is I was going through a second divorce. I was questioning everything about my life, because when you're going through your second divorce, it's time to start looking in the mirror. The first one, you can go, it was their fault. But when you've got your second one, you've got to go, hang on a minute.
I need to take some accountability here.
Maybe I should take some responsibility for this. And I was going through some really bad trauma related to the relationship breakdown. And I needed help. And I've never been very good at asking for help, but I really needed help. So I sought out a therapist. So it would have been NLP, theta healing. I tried everything. But the majority of the time, I was sat with someone and it was as if they were reading it from a book. And I don't know if this is a trait that's good or not so good, but I'm looking at it thinking, is that all you've got to offer? Because I could read this in a book. So I could do better than you. Do you know what, mate? I could do better. And then I thought, well, if you're going to tell yourself you could do better than you better go and do it. So I signed up for various hypnotherapy courses, came across the lady that we were speaking about. Yeah. And then she taught me hypnotherapy, and she said, don't leave it with hypnotherapy, go and learn other things. Yeah. So I went and did NLP courses and other courses, did my own blend. Yeah. And we all do different things, because I know that we had exactly the same training. Yeah. But if you had Clayton, our videographer today, creationographer, he's not a videographer, he's a creationographer. If you had him sit down, the experience would be completely different. Absolutely. Because we work in different ways. Mm-hmm. So that's what led me to become a hypnotherapist. But one of the things you said was about fear of phobias, one session. What I'm about is saying, it is only one session. You don't need to book in for 6 sessions. You don't need to book in for 10 sessions. It's one session. Yeah. If it's cessation of smoking, it's, let me think, one session. You know, I hear people going for 10 sessions. I don't know what they're doing in those sessions, but it certainly isn't hypnotherapy or NLP. Now, there are certain things that will take time. So, like dealing with crisis of self-confidence and crisis of self-esteem, they can take a few more sessions. But generally speaking, people book in with me for 5 sessions. And if they're looking for more for the same problem, I'm inclined to say, do you know what? Maybe I'm not the right therapist for you. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I've done some 2 sessions, because the first session has done a lot of the healing. Yeah. Healing, you're not allowed to say that, are you? Has done a lot of
curing. No, you can't say that.
No, you can't say that either. A lot of the work, right? And then, but the second session will help to solidify that, to really maximise the benefits of it, and to perhaps add in some confidence about the new way of working. Because I think people who have had, perhaps it's a fear, perhaps it's a phobia, and you've had it for a long time, it sometimes becomes defining. Yes. Yeah. And it can define you, and suddenly you haven't got that anymore. And you're like, oh my goodness, what's happened? Who am I now? And this is leading me nicely, almost like I planned it, to secondary gains. Secondary gains. Now, we know what this is, but I'm going to get you. You've got a lovely analogy on this one.
Yeah, so secondary gain. Hypnotherapy is great for pain relief or removing of pain completely. Obviously, you don't want to remove pain for someone who is, for instance, got a brain tumour. Whilst it might be a good idea to remove the pain, they need to know if the tumour's getting bigger, which normally means the pain's going to get worse. So pain is an indicator that something's going wrong. Yeah. So we only want to get rid of the sort of pain that's hanging around for no good reason. And one of the sorts of pain that we talk about is for things like osteoarthritis, rheumatism. There's no cure for these things. It's managed. And rather than being on gabapentin or all these sorts of drugs, convincing the subconscious mind that there isn't a real reason for this person to still be in pain. However, if you get a lady or a gentleman, I'll pick on a lady who has the standard gnarled fingers because they've got rheumatoid arthritis, which means they can't go shopping. So every Friday, dutifully, their son or daughter takes them shopping. And then when they've been shopping, they go to Costa and they sit down and they have a chai latte and a croissant. And then they go home and they unpack all the shopping. They sit down and watch Antiques Roadshow with their mum or dad. And then they go home. And the mum is like left feeling loved. I come along and say, I can get rid of your pain. Can you? Can you really get rid of your pain? Yes, let's go for it. And you do the session and the pain is still there. You do another session. You think this normally only takes 2 sessions. And you do a third. You start questioning yourself. Well, that's because consciously she wants to get rid of the pain. But the subconscious mind looking after her best interest, that 9-year-old little girl, is saying, yeah, but if you get rid of the pain, your daughter or your son's not going to turn up on a Friday.
Yeah.
They're not going to do your
you can
shopping.
do your own shopping.
They're not going to go and take you to Costa. You're not going to have the croissant, and you're not going to watch Antiques Roadshow with them. So the subconscious mind will self-sabotage and go, no, we aren't getting rid of that pain. We need the pain because that pain gives us this massive secondary gain, because then the secondary gain is up here and the pain is down here.
Okay.
And that can work for all sorts of things.
So obviously there are questioning techniques that we have in advance of running a session where we can actually sort of ask those questions without using the word secondary gain because people don't understand it. But, why would you want to keep hold of this? What does it do for you? What sort of thing?
Exactly.
How does it help you?
Exactly. And more importantly, asking that question whilst the client is in that state of hypnotherapy and hypnosis. Because you can actually speak to the subconscious mind. And people find that really hard to believe. It's not just the subconscious mind being a yes or no vehicle. You can actually have a conversation with someone. And when they come out of hypnosis, because there's another thing, people quite often think that what they see on the TV, where 1, 2, 3, you're under and like this, that's what hypnotherapy is. It isn't. Most of the time, people are more aware. So quite often I'll be sat with a client and we'll be chatting away, and then I'll start doing this. And they can see it like you're seeing it now, but they can't really hear it. And then I'll say, right, close your eyes. And go, close your eyes now.
Oh, don't put me in. Okay.
No, I'm not going, but close your eyes. But now, what can you hear?
Tapping, yeah.
Now just open it. Now, your eyes, your main source of information, has taken away some of the sound. Okay? When you close your eyes, your hearing increases. Your tasting. That's why when people say, taste that, you will go to taste it, and for a split second, whilst you're tasting it, you'll close your eyes. Because you'll go, oh, just try that.
And you focus.
You're focusing your brain on the taste. If somebody says, listen to that, you'll turn your head and close your eyes, because 90% of the information that we receive comes through the eyes. So when I say to you, close your eyes, I'm not saying to you, lose awareness. I'm saying to you, increase the awareness of all your senses so that you can feel, like in this room now, it's a bit cold, but when you close your eyes, you can feel the air currents going across the skin of your face, the skin of your hands. You can feel your bottom on the chair. Now, I can feel it there now because I've made myself aware of it.
Said about it.
But when I close my eyes, that's quite a hard chair. I know there isn't a cushion underneath it. I really know there isn't a cushion underneath this chair. Okay? So that's what we're talking about. And it's busting the myths about hypnotherapy. It's not about, now some people do go out like a light, to be fair. But they're very few and far between.
And most people are fully aware of what's happened. And, the whole like, oh, I don't trust you with hypnotherapy. You're going to make me cluck like a chicken. What's the reality on that, really? Right.
You'll only cluck like a chicken and bark like a dog if you want to. And can I facilitate that? Yes. But if I had someone whose religion prohibited them from eating bacon, could I get them to eat a bacon sandwich in hypnosis? No, because I can't hypnotise someone to do something against their moral or religious beliefs. However, if a local bank robber came to see me who robbed banks in Southampton and Bournemouth and Salisbury and said, Paul, I really want to go big time. I want to go to London. I want to go to London and I want to rob the big bank. Can you help me? The answer is yes, because his moral compass is already, I'm a bank robber. He just needs more confidence to rob bigger and better banks. So on that basis, yes, I can help people, but if it's against their moral and religious beliefs, it's not going to happen.
Okay. And what about the people who say, I can't be hypnotised?
They're my favourite clients because they're the ones that do normally go out like a light. It's not about how busy your mind is or how unbusy it is. It's just about, have you got an imagination? Because one of the prerequisites is you have to have an imagination. Not a good imagination, you have to have an imagination. And if you've got an imagination and you can sit still for longer than a few minutes, then you've got 99.9% of being hypnotised. If you've got people, say for instance, with ADHD or people that have got nervous twitches, and it's a little bit more challenging, but it's not impossible. The only people that, as hypnotherapists, we should never deal with are people who are suffering with psychosis or neurosis, because we know that doing hypnotherapy with those people can exacerbate their symptoms. But other than that, everybody, because anybody watching this who drives, I guarantee you that will have been either today, yesterday, at some point this week, you'll be sat in your car and you'll go from point A to point B and you will not remember the journey. The reason being that you had a problem, an issue to deal with. It might have been an argument with your partner. It might have been that you've got a presentation to do when you get to work, or it might be that you've left your shopping list on the counter. You have a conscious problem to deal with. The subconscious mind takes over the driving because you have a conscious problem. And I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, there's no such thing as being able to do multitasking.
Says the man in the room.
It's a myth. So you can't think about the problem and do the driving, okay? You can give 50% attention to it, but you need to focus 100% on the problem in hand. The subconscious mind takes over, which is why consciously you cannot remember the journey.
I've actually been really aware of that happening at one point, and what was really interesting was something else happened, like a car was about to pull out on me and instantly came back. I was like, oh, okay, and cracked on. So
that's it.
It's not even as if, and I have people sometimes when I'm doing hypnotherapy, well, maybe early doors when they haven't had it before, they'll be like, well, what happens if my child's upstairs? I need to know if, and I was like, you will wake up. You will be able to instantly be aware of what you need to do.
Yeah.
And they're like, what if I need the loo? You'll instantly be able to go wake up and tell me you need the bathroom, and I shall let it's fine. Yeah. And but I've got an itch. Scratch then. You don't have to lie like a plank. You don't have to be out for 2 hours straight to get this done. You're a human. It's okay.
And the people that believe they can't be hypnotised, classic example. Here's the thing. You're watching TV, which is a form of hypnosis because you're in it, because you're watching, I don't know, EastEnders, and there's a fire. You've never experienced a fire, and somebody's dying, and you've never experienced anybody dying. You've never even seen a fire, but you're in it, and your heart rate's up, and you're there, and it's all your imagination going wild. And then the adverts come on, and it's for Daz, bright whites. And then you go and make yourself a cup of tea, you come back, you're back into EastEnders. Saturday you go do your shopping, you're a Purcell type of girl. You've been buying Purcell for the last 20 years, and you suddenly go, do you know what? I might try Daz. Why do you think the advertisers pay big money to advertise during these prime shows? Because they know you're in a state of hypnosis and they're into your subconscious mind straight away. Bang, I'll start buying Daz. Not because it does brighter whites, they just want you there. So people that say it doesn't work, it does all the time. So
the commonalities, you're talking about confidence, self-esteem, that kind of thing. What's the most obscure thing, without naming names? What do you think one of the most... I mean, I think for my teacher was trying to deal with the sand phobia. It was pretty weird.
Well, pretty weird. I mean, phobias tend to be weird ones because you're only born with two fears, falling over and loud noises. Those tend to be the ones that you're born with. Everything else is learned behaviour. I had a friend who was scared of tomatoes.
Scared of tomatoes. I can understand allergic to.
No, absolutely. Wow. If he had a tomato in his hand, he could hold it there. But if you cut it and he saw the pith and the juice, he would pass out.
Wow.
Now I spoke to his mum, who said that when she was pregnant with him, she had a reaction to tomatoes. Right, so they had to be linked in some way. Right. But I had another client who was scared of the puckered ends of sausages.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh. That's not
so can you imagine taking these two for breakfast, right? Okay, one can't have tomatoes, and the other one's got to have the ends of the sausages cut off. But there was a programme on TV several years ago about fears and phobias, and there was a guy who was scared of baked beans. He could hold a tin of baked beans, but if he saw the baked beans bubbling...
Wow.
But phobias are picked up from childhood. So
and they're not always linked, are they?
No, but if you take arachnophobia...
Yeah. I know what mine was. Yeah.
Okay, but generally, like, you're 3 years old, you're playing with the pots and pans, like we do, bashing them away, mum's doing the cooking, she opens up a cupboard door and there's a house spider. And she goes, Jim, have you seen the size of this spider? You come and get away, and Jim rushes in, and she's, oh my God, it's a spider. That little girl, I trust my mummy, I love mummy, mummy says spiders are bad, therefore spiders are bad. Yeah. That's enough. As adults, we go, that can't possibly be it. That's because we're reasoning with an adult's brain. This is a child's brain. And bearing in mind, that house spider that you saw that fits the palm of your hand, for her, it covers her whole hand.
Yeah, so it's huge.
It's a huge thing.
Yeah. Well, mine was actually, there was a long-legged one up in the bathroom. It was dead. And Mum was very frightened of spiders, and she called my dad in to get it, and he flicked it with his hanky, and it went down her cleavage. So she had all legs hanging out, and she actually had a total meltdown. They had a huge argument, and me being a child, that made my parents fight. Yeah. And I was frightened because they were fighting, not because of the spider. Yeah. I was frightened because of the fight, and that turns into a massive spider phobia.
I had a client who was scared of blood. So scared of blood that she would call it the red stuff. She couldn't even say the word. Right. And when I say...
I had one with needle like that.
When I say scared, she would have like anaphylactic shock.
Oh, wow.
It was horrendous. And in hypnosis, it came down to the fact that when she was 3 years old, her mum was very busy went to a blood donor session, and the little girl was waiting in the waiting room with somebody else, but the curtain fell apart, and she saw a needle in mummy's arm and the blood being drained out of her.
Yeah, that'd do it.
Right? Yeah. Yes, it was being drained out of her, but only a litre by choice.
Yeah,
but that was
it's
enough.
hard to explain to a little girl.
That was enough for her to be absolutely terrified. Now, for that
that's
one,
a lot of debilitating.
debilitating. That one was quite a difficult one. So that took 3 sessions, but it was more ingrained than most of the phobias that I've dealt with over the years. But like I said, 3 to 5 sessions, we're done.
Yeah, perfect. So recommendation-wise, would you recommend hypnotherapy to people?
Oh, God, absolutely. But here's the thing. If you're going to engage with a hypnotherapist, one question you should always ask them, who's your therapist? Because I believe unless a hypnotherapist is receiving therapy themselves on a fairly regular basis, like once a quarter, to enable them to release the stuff that they've witnessed, because we do witness some pretty bad stuff. Quite tough. And we are always a work in progress, every single one of us. So if you're going to live it, and you can say to your clients, I live it so much that I actually do this thing myself and I go and get help.
Well, you've changed a lot of lives, including mine. So
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.